first time I heard about shares was when my dad was talking with another friend of his to buy some shares. I didn't know that I was in primary school. And later, of course, I learned that they were buying shares in ICDC. And I got interested. So over the years, my interest in stocks, shares, started rising. Many years later, I had even an opportunity to do an MBA, and the dissertation happened to be focused on the NSC. That was something very interesting. Now, I joined the NSC through a kind of, not in a very planned way, but I actually just found myself there. The NSC then was an association of stockbrokers. There were actually 6 stockbrokers. And the organization I worked for then provided secretarial and administrative services to that association. It was, of course, these days it's called Ernst & Young, and they had a secretarial arm called Africa Registrars Limited. And Africa Registrars Limited wanted to employ somebody to learn as an assistant manager in that department, because they were planning that the manager was leaving shortly. So I was actually headhunted from wherever I was working, and I went to learn Africa Registrars Limited. And guess what? The first file I dealt with was Nairobi Stock Exchange Association. That was one of the first files to deal. It was a busy file, but because they used to have sessions on a weekly basis at the Stanley Hotel, where every week they would meet together over what they were calling a call over session, where they would call the prices that have been dealt over the week, buying and selling by the various stockbrokers over the counter, and then they would record this, and this would become the record for the week. And the Africa Registrars Limited, which was I was then learning, that is between 1987 to 1990, was doing the recording of that. And that's naturally how I ended up now becoming more and more interested in matters of the stock market. In my view, there are a number of things that one requires to consider. The first one, I think, is you must have interest in that area. It is an area that there's so much to learn. And if you don't have, it's not a job like any other. Because a lot of jobs, you come and learn a particular thing and learn with it. In the capital markets industry, the financial sector generally, it is a never learning situation. You can never know enough. Even after I have been in the industry for 30 years now, because as I said, since 1987, that is 34 years. Every day I learn something new, every day. So for a young person who is joining, please have interest. If you have to have an impact, you must know. You must have enough knowledge. And knowledge comes by learning and reading and hearing what people are saying, attending seminars, workshops. What I haven't said is that between 1989 and when I left the NSC in 1999, I attended more than possibly 50 courses over that period. Some short, some relatively longer, and it was all learning. I attended many financial markets across the globe, from London to Johannesburg, Malaysia to Chicago to NASDAQ in Washington, D.C., New York Stock Exchange. It was across, and you could not be able to get all this knowledge without getting interested. You had to get interested in all these things. So that is the first thing. The other thing is that you must have if I put it this way, a mindset that is not get quick get rich quick mentality, because that should be left to the people doing what in Kenya we call tutenda. Those people who look for quick money. There's no quick money in the financial sector, by the way. A lot of people assume there is money because you are dealing in the finance, they assume there is quick money. A young man should know that it's slow but steady growth that matters within the financial service sector. So the mindset must be one of wanting to do a good job based on fundamentals, growth that is steady, because even if you take, for example, growth in terms of investments, it can come very quickly, but it can also be very slow. You'd remember compound interest. Compound is incremental. You build something on something on something on something. That incremental growth is what a lot of young people don't appreciate. Well, let me put it this way. ICIFA is, I've seen ICIFA grow from, because the first syllabus, if I may put, or curricula for ICIFA was actually drawn in my office. So I have seen it from where it came. In fact, when the decision was made by the board of the NSC that they needed to create a professional body that would support the industry. And this came because there was some mention that we needed to, what I would call, professionalize the industry, make it more, based on knowledge and skills and good practice. So the board of the NSC agreed that they needed to support that process. And they employed a consultant who I had to give an office next to my office to work from. So after every few minutes, he would call me, Job, what do you think? So for the next 1 month, I was part of the development of the curricula. So it was actually, I have seen it from the word go. And it has grown to be what it is over the years, and I don't want to go into a lot of details until 2015, when it was formalized through, through an act, Investment Financial Analyst Act. And I would say that because my mindset was already attuned to a professional way of doing things, ICIFA became just reinforced what I believed in. Because I have just explained that I did my dissertation on matters to do with the growth of the market. So already my mindset was attuned to that kind of thing. So ICIFA was part and parcel of that whole ecosystem for me. And therefore, as far as I'm concerned, ICIFA is, me and ICIFA are inseparable, if you want to put it that way, because I was there when it was created and have grown to where it is now. And even now that I'm out of the council, I still feel part and parcel of it. It's not something that you can walk away from in a day. So ICIFA has been fundamental to what I do. Thank you. One of the things that I have always loved is nature. And I don't think, I grew up in an area that was very close to a forest. So from very early ages, I got very close to nature. There was, for example, a stream that passed near our place, which had very clean water, and totally unpolluted. You could literally go there and scoop very clear water and take it straight from the river. The river also had even fish. So very early we started fishing, when I was even below 7, I knew how to fish from the river. And it was very, very fresh. So I have grown very close to nature. So one of the things that I do as naturally is I like to see animals, I like to see birds, I like to see. So I really take time sometimes alone, being out there in the bushes, and I not too far from Nairobi have a small farm where there are trees and birds and that kind of thing. So I like to go and see even the small goats growing and the chicken growing, the wild, the kienyeji type that grow out in the. That's the kind of life I enjoy. From the point of view of investments and even from the point of view of life, one of the things that there's a book in the Bible called Ecclesiastes, and it's a difficult name. If you read chapter 11 and chapter 12, you'll find something very interesting. For example, in chapter 11 and verse 6, I believe, I can't recall exactly, they talk about the principle of diversification. And it's very, very interesting because if you want to do well in life, diversify. It requires, as far as investments are concerned. So diversification is a principle that is very important. Don't put all your eggs, and we know that, into one basket. Number two, and I believe it's chapter 12, verse 1, that remember your Creator in the days of your youth. That is something you can expand that into a lot of aspects of life, even in investment. Don't wait until you are 50 or 60 or 70. Do it when you are young. Remember to invest in yourself, to invest in other people, to invest in God when you are still young. Because the same verse continues to say, because there are days will come when you say you have no interest. Actually, the way it puts it says that you'll find that you have no enjoyment in those things. So, while there's so much I have read so much about quotes and quotes. I have read books about investments. One of the Kaud book I used to read is called The Richest Man in Babylon, by George Cannon, I think, which is a very old book. But the principles are sound. They remain as good they were 30, 40 years ago as they are today. And I can't remember a specific quote that stands out, but they are a combination of so many, because there's so much there that is written about investments, about financial wealth. There's so much that is written.